My friend, when God decides to bless a person, there isn't a demon in hell that can stop it. But the tragedy is, most people doubt the very thing they've been praying for. They sabotage their own breakthrough by thinking too small, expecting too little, and believing too late. Hear me today. Your season of elevation is not coming. It's already unfolding. The question is not if God will do it, but will you believe it when it starts to happen? Because wealth, favor, and divine promotion are never accidents. They are heaven's response to faith that refuses to doubt. When heaven decides to prosper you, nothing on earth can stop it. No system, no economy, no opinion, and no opposition can stand against the will of God when He sets His mind to elevate you. You see, when God speaks increase over your life, He doesn't consult your bank account, your background, or your education. He looks only at your obedience. Because divine elevation is not a human promotion, it's a heavenly decision. And when heaven makes a decision, earth must adjust. There are moments in life when you can feel something shifting. You can't explain it, but deep inside, your spirit knows something is changing. Doors that were closed begin to creak open. Opportunities you never imagined start to appear, and favor begins to find you in unexpected places. That's not coincidence. That's divine orchestration. Heaven has already voted in your favor. But here's the challenge. Most people miss their season of prosperity because it doesn't come wrapped the way they expected. They look for wealth in the wrong form. Sometimes, God's elevation starts as an instruction, not an increase. He says, move, but you stay comfortable. He says, build, but you wait for resources. He says, give, but you hold on tight. And yet, the key to the next level is often hidden inside that single act of obedience. Could it be that what you're praying for is waiting on you to move first? When heaven decides to prosper you, God doesn't just give you money. He gives you a mandate. He gives you an assignment that requires wealth to fulfill. Because prosperity without purpose is wasted potential. God doesn't bless you to boast. He blesses you to become a blessing. That's why real elevation always comes with responsibility. He doesn't promote you just to lift you up. He promotes you so you can lift others. Now listen carefully. When divine elevation begins, it rarely looks divine at first. It often starts with pressure, with testing, with pruning. Before God raises you, He refines you. Before He trusts you with abundance, He checks your attitude and lack. So don't misinterpret your current struggle. It might be the sign that heaven is preparing your promotion. Every delay, every denial, every closed door might just be God's way of saying, I'm getting you ready for more. This is not the time to doubt. This is the time to discern. Because when heaven decides to prosper you, it sends signals through divine connections, supernatural favor, and sudden opportunities that align perfectly with your purpose. You begin to see that things that used to resist you now work for you. Enemies that once cursed you now advertise your name. That's not by chance. That's divine elevation unfolding before your eyes. So hear this today. Your season of prosperity is not coming. It has already been authorized. Heaven has already approved your elevation. The question is, are you positioned to receive it? Because when heaven decides to prosper you, the next move, my friend, is yours. Now let's talk about the next level. How to recognize the divine currency that unlocks this flow of kingdom wealth. The currency of heaven is not gold, silver, or paper. It is faith. Faith is the only tender that moves the economy of God. You cannot buy divine favor with effort. You cannot earn it with connections, and you cannot negotiate it with talent. Faith is the only language heaven understands. When you believe, you transact with eternity. When you doubt, you bankrupt your own destiny. You see, wealth in the kingdom does not begin in your hands. It begins in your heart. Because God never gives you what you can handle. He gives you what you can believe. Your faith determines your flow. That's why some people stay stuck while others rise. They both pray, they both hope, but only one believes without doubting. Faith is not just belief in God's power, it's confidence in His timing. The problem with many of us is not that we don't believe God can do it, but that we doubt He'll do it for us. We see others prosper, we watch others get promoted, and we think, maybe it's not my time. But hear me, faith doesn't wait for proof. Faith creates proof. It calls things that are not as though they already are. Faith builds before the foundation is laid. It moves before the door opens. Because faith is the seed that tells heaven, I'm ready for what you've promised. When heaven decides to elevate you, it tests your faith before it releases your fortune. Why? Because if you can't trust God with a little, you won't honor Him with much. God uses lack to test loyalty. He uses delay to test endurance. He uses silence to test your trust. And when your faith remains unshaken, even in uncertainty, heaven releases the flow. That's when you see divine acceleration. Things that took years begin to happen in months. People who ignored you start calling your name. Doors that once rejected you open without effort. That's the power of faith. It turns invisible promises into visible breakthroughs. But faith isn't just believing once and walking away. It's a lifestyle. It's persistence when everything around you screams impossible. It's the decision to speak what God said, even when nothing in your situation agrees. Faith doesn't consult your circumstances, it commands them. It doesn't ask permission, it takes possession. Because the moment you decide to believe, heaven begins to move. So, if faith is heaven's currency, then doubt is spiritual poverty. Every time you let fear speak louder than your faith, you interrupt the transaction. You cut off what was already on the way. And that's why, in this season, God is saying, don't doubt the delay, don't question the process, just believe me enough to act. Because your next level will not come through sight, but through faith. And once faith has positioned you, once your belief has opened heaven's flow, the next step is even more powerful. It's how God takes ordinary people and shifts them into extraordinary favor. Every great move of God begins in a quiet, hidden place. Nothing about divine elevation starts loud. It starts in the shadows, in the waiting, in the seasons where you feel forgotten. But what if I told you that your waiting is not a punishment, it's a process? God uses the waiting room to prepare you for the winning stage. Because before He promotes you, He must first prove you. Before He trusts you with influence, He must train your integrity. Some of you have been waiting for years, praying for breakthrough, expecting change, and wondering, when will my time come? Hear this, the time is not your problem. The preparation is. God is not delaying you. He's developing you. He's building the character that can carry the weight of your blessing. You see, promotion in the kingdom doesn't come because you're talented. It comes because you're ready. Many people can handle success for a moment, but few can sustain it for a lifetime. That's why God waits until your maturity matches your miracle. In the waiting, He tests your attitude. Can you still praise when nothing is happening? Can you still serve when nobody sees you? Can you still give when you feel empty yourself? Those are not random tests. They're divine qualifications. Heaven watches how you handle obscurity before it trusts you with visibility. Because if you can stay faithful in the dark, you'll shine brighter when the light hits you. The shift from waiting to winning is not sudden, it's strategic. One small act of obedience can turn an entire season around. One divine connection can move you from the back to the front. One yes from God can do more than a lifetime of striving. But here's the mystery. Most people give up right before the breakthrough. They stop pressing, stop believing, stop preparing, because they assume the silence means denial. No, my friend, silence often means setup. When heaven goes quiet, it's usually constructing something bigger behind the scenes. Remember this, God never forgets a faithful heart. Every tear, every prayer, every sleepless night, He has recorded them all. You may feel overlooked, but you're actually being observed. You may feel delayed, but you're only being developed. And when the time is right, divine favor will find you. Suddenly, You'll step into rooms you didn't apply for. You'll receive calls you didn't expect. You'll be recognized for work you thought no one noticed. That's not luck. That's divine timing meeting faithful preparation. So, don't curse your waiting season. Use it. Grow in it. Because every waiting room in the kingdom leads to a winning stage. God is about to take you from obscurity to opportunity, from preparation to manifestation. The people who overlooked you will soon need what you carry. And when that shift comes, when you begin to rise, it won't just be about you. Because the next level of divine elevation is recognizing the signs of that favor, the evidence that heaven has placed your name on the next promotion list. When God is about to promote you, there are always signs. Heaven never moves in silence. It always leaves evidence. The problem is not that God isn't speaking. It's that many people aren't paying attention. Promotion in the kingdom doesn't sneak up on you. It prepares you. And if your eyes are open, you'll see the patterns long before the promise appears. You begin to notice that certain doors start to close, not because you've done anything wrong, but because God is redirecting your steps. Relationships begin to shift. The people who used to celebrate you suddenly become uncomfortable around you. The environment that once fit you now feels too small. Why? Because when divine elevation is near, discomfort becomes your announcement. God will make where you are feel too tight, so you can't settle for less than where you're called to go. Sometimes, the sign that promotion is coming is not blessing, it's pressure. Things start to stretch. What used to be easy now becomes challenging. But that's not a curse. That's God expanding your capacity. He's preparing your spirit to handle what He's about to place in your hands. Don't mistake the stretching for punishment. It's preparation. Because new levels require new strength. And before God lifts you up, He builds you up. Another sign is divine exposure. Suddenly, people start to notice your gift. You didn't push for it. You didn't advertise yourself. Yet your name starts to circulate in places you've never been. That's not coincidence. That's heaven marketing your purpose. When you've passed the test of obscurity, God Himself becomes your promoter. You don't have to force opportunities when you're in divine alignment. Favor will announce you before you even arrive. But here's where many miss it. They start to doubt the shift. They question the unfamiliar. They resist the new because they're attached to the old. Listen carefully. Promotion always requires separation. You cannot step into your next season while holding on to people, habits, and mindsets from your last one. When God calls you higher, He doesn't ask for your permission. He demands your transition. So don't fight what He's trying to free you from. You'll also notice that divine timing begins to accelerate. Things that were stagnant suddenly move. Opportunities that once seemed distant now show up at your doorstep. You'll start saying things like, "Everything is happening so fast." That's what happens when heaven authorizes your promotion. Acceleration replaces effort. But with every promotion comes purpose. God doesn't elevate for applause. He elevates for assignment. The wealth, the favor, the influence, it's all connected to a divine mission bigger than you. So, when you see the signs, don't hesitate, don't doubt, don't delay. Align your faith, prepare your heart, and step boldly into your next dimension. Because the evidence is already around you. Heaven has placed you in line for divine promotion. And once you recognize that promotion, you must now understand why it's coming. Because wealth, my friend, always has a purpose. Wealth has never been about money. It has always been about purpose. God doesn't bless people just to make them comfortable. He blesses them to make them useful. Every resource heaven releases carries an assignment. And when you understand that, you stop chasing riches and start pursuing reasons. Because true prosperity is not how much you own, it's how much you impact. You see, God never gives increase without intention. Every time He elevates you, there's a mission attached. The house, the business, the promotion, the influence. None of it is random. It's all strategic. God entrusts wealth to those who will manage it for kingdom purpose. He's not trying to make you rich just so you can live better. He's trying to position you to do better. He's not looking for people who love money. He's looking for people he can trust with resources that build his vision on earth. The danger is when people receive blessings without understanding their assignment. They start to think the blessing is about them. But when you forget the purpose of prosperity, you abuse it. That's why so many lose what they gain, because they confuse stewardship with ownership. You are not the source, you are the channel. You are not the owner, you are the manager. Wealth flows through you, not to you. And the moment you try to keep what God meant for movement, the flow stops. So ask yourself, why do you want to be blessed? Why do you want wealth, promotion, and favor? If your answer only benefits you, heaven can't trust you with increase. Because God promotes for purpose. He raises people who understand that their prosperity is a tool, not a trophy. That's why every divine elevation comes with responsibility. Every open door is an invitation to serve at a higher level. Every blessing carries the weight of assignment. When God gives you more, He's testing your ability to manage the why behind it. He's watching to see if you'll build His kingdom or your ego. Because the moment you use divine wealth for selfish ambition, you step outside the system that produced it. But when your heart stays aligned with heaven's intent, there's no limit to what God can trust you with. That's when the flow never ends, because God funds what fulfills His will. This is why, in the kingdom, wealth is never the goal, it's the result. The result of obedience, of stewardship, of living with divine intention. God prospers His people so they can influence culture, shape nations, and reflect His glory in every sphere of life. That's the kind of wealth that cannot be stolen or corrupted. It's the kind that transforms lives. So remember this, your wealth is not your reward, it's your responsibility. And when you align your purpose with God's plan, prosperity becomes inevitable. Because the moment you embrace that truth, you begin to see why delay, waiting, and even struggle are not punishment. They're part of heaven's process to prepare you for what's next. Don't doubt the delay. Don't question the waiting. Because delay in the kingdom is never denial. It's divine preparation. God is not punishing you. He's positioning you. Every pause in your journey has a purpose. Every season that feels silent is heaven's workshop, shaping you for what you prayed for. The waiting room is where God perfects what He plans to promote. And until you pass that test, He will not release what's next. You see, God is not just interested in giving you blessings. He's interested in making sure you can handle them. Many people cry for increase, but increase without preparation becomes a curse. Promotion too early can destroy potential. That's why sometimes He closes doors you're desperate to open. He holds back opportunities you think you're ready for, not because you're forgotten, but because He's protecting your future. You may be ready for the platform, but is the platform ready for you? You may be ready for the promise, but have you developed the character to sustain it? Delay reveals maturity. It tests whether you'll serve God for who He is, not just for what He gives. It separates the impatient from the faithful, because faith is not proven when things happen fast. It's proven when nothing happens at all. The strongest believers are not those who shout in victory, but those who stand firm in silence. They understand that when heaven goes quiet, it's not rejection, it's construction. God is building something beyond your sight, something bigger than your expectation. The waiting season is where giants are made. It's where dreams are refined and motives are purified. It's where God strips away the pride, the fear, and the doubt, until only faith remains. That's when you become dangerous to the enemy, because a believer who can wait and still worship cannot be stopped. Every moment of delay is an investment in your destiny. Heaven never wastes time. It only uses it to make you unstoppable. So don't misinterpret divine silence as absence. God may not be speaking, but He's still moving. You don't have to see the plan to trust the planner. Remember, when a seed is buried, it looks like it's been forgotten, but in reality, it's just becoming what it was destined to be. You're not buried, you're planted. And when the season is right, when the process is complete, You will rise stronger, wiser, and ready for more. And when that moment comes, when that moment comes, every delay will make sense. Every tear will testify. Every disappointment will point to divine strategy. You'll realize that what you thought was rejection was actually redirection. What you thought was silence was setup. What you thought was waiting was becoming. So lift your head, child of purpose. Heaven has not forgotten you. What God started, He will finish. What He promised, He will perform. And when it happens, it won't just elevate you, it will announce you. Because your season of divine manifestation has finally arrived.